Before we begin, take a second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the story you're about to hear isn't just another moment in someone's life. It's the kind of experience that quietly changes everything. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand why. Ethan Walker had always believed that life's most meaningful moments announce themselves in obvious ways: big decisions, life-changing news, or dramatic turning points. But what he didn't realize was that sometimes the moments that stay with you forever arrive quietly, almost unnoticed. Disguised as something ordinary, that Thursday afternoon felt like one of those ordinary days. The sky over Oregon carried a soft, muted glow, the kind that made everything feel calm and unhurried. Ethan had driven over to his grandmother's house, a place that had always felt like a refuge from the noise of the world. The wooden porch creaked gently under his steps as he approached, and the faint scent of lavender drifted through the open windows just as it always had. He was there for a simple reason: to help prepare for a small local fundraiser his grandmother had been organizing for weeks. Nothing complicated, just decorations, sorting supplies, and lending a hand where needed. At least that's what he thought. The moment he stepped inside, something shifted. The house looked the same, warm, inviting, filled with soft light, but there was an unexpected presence in the living room. Someone he hadn't anticipated seeing that day. Claire Dawson. She stood near the coffee table, quietly sorting through a box of decorations. Her movements were unhurried, almost thoughtful, as if she treated even the smallest tasks with care. When she looked up and saw him, her expression softened into a gentle smile, the kind that felt genuine, effortless. It was a smile Ethan recognized immediately, and one he had probably thought about more often than he should have. Claire had always been different, not in a way that demanded attention, but in a way that naturally drew it. There was a calmness about her, a quiet confidence that didn't need to be announced. While the world seemed to rush endlessly forward, she moved at her own pace, steady, composed, grounded. Her presence had a way of slowing things down. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice carrying that same familiar warmth. He greeted her with a smile, trying to keep things casual, even though something about seeing her there felt unexpectedly significant. "Didn't know you'd be here today." She gave a small laugh, light and easy. "Neither did I, honestly. Your grandmother convinced me at the last minute." There was something comforting about how natural the conversation felt, as though no time had passed at all. And yet, beneath that ease, there was something else, something unspoken. For a while, everything stayed simple. They worked side by side, sorting decorations, entangling ribbons, organizing supplies. Claire made a few self-deprecating jokes about her lack of crafting skills, and Ethan couldn't help but laugh. The atmosphere was light, almost effortless. Then his grandmother stepped out to take a phone call, and just like that, the dynamic shifted. The room grew quieter, not awkward, just more aware. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a soft golden glow across the space, wrapping everything in a warmth that felt almost too intimate for such an ordinary afternoon. They continued working, but the silence between them carried a different weight now. Not uncomfortable, just noticeable. Claire reached for another box, adjusting her footing slightly, and then it happened. A small, almost insignificant misstep. Her foot caught the edge of a loose rug. It was the kind of moment that would normally pass in an instant, barely worth remembering. But this time, it unfolded differently. Ethan saw it happen before he had time to think. The slight twist, the shift in balance, the quiet gasp. And then instinct took over. He moved forward quickly, reaching her just as she began to fall. His hands steadied her, catching her before she could hit the ground. The movement was quick, almost automatic, but the impact of it lingered. For a brief second, everything froze. Claire leaned against him, her balance unsteady. One hand instinctively gripped his arm, the other pressed lightly against his shoulder. As she tried to regain control, "I've got you," he said, his voice calm, though his heartbeat had suddenly quickened. She nodded. But when she tried to stand properly, a sharp wince crossed her face. I don't think I can put weight on it yet," she admitted quietly. And just like that, the moment deepened. Ethan adjusted his hold without hesitation, supporting her more firmly. What had started as a reflexive action now became something more deliberate, more careful, more personal. He became aware of everything: the closeness, the warmth, the subtle rhythm of her breathing, the way she leaned into him not out of choice, but out of necessity. And yet, there was something about it that didn't feel purely accidental. Claire's cheeks flushed slightly, a mix of embarrassment and vulnerability. She avoided direct eye contact at first, clearly uncomfortable with needing help. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I didn't mean to." "Hey," Ethan interrupted gently. "You don't have to apologize." His tone was softer now, reassuring. "Just take your time. Lean on me." There was a pause, a small, almost imperceptible hesitation. Then, slowly, she did. Her grip on his shirt tightened slightly, not in panic but in trust. And that was the moment something shifted between them, not dramatically. Not in a way that could be easily defined, but in a way that felt real. Time seemed to stretch as he guided her carefully toward the sofa. Every step was slow, measured. Every movement intentional. It wasn't just about helping her walk. It was about making sure she felt safe doing it. When they finally reached the couch, he helped her sit down gently, making sure her injured ankle was supported. Only then did he step back slightly, but even that small distance felt noticeable. Claire adjusted her posture, brushing her hair back as if trying to regain some sense of normalcy. But the faint color still lingered in her cheeks, and her expression carried something softer now. "Thank you," she said quietly. Ethan shrugged, trying to keep things light. "It's nothing." But she shook her head. "No, it's not." There was a sincerity in her voice that made him pause. "I'm not very good at relying on people," she admitted after a moment. "I've always handled things on my own." Ethan leaned slightly against the arm of the couch, considering her words. "There's nothing wrong with that," he said. "But it's also okay to let someone help sometimes." She looked at him, then really looked at him. And something in her expression softened even more. "I've noticed," she said gently, "the way you take care of your grandmother. You don't even think twice about it." He gave a small, almost dismissive smile. "She's family." "That's exactly my point." The quiet between them returned, but this time it felt different. Full, rather than empty, comfortable, but layered with something deeper. Claire's gaze lingered for a moment longer than usual before she looked away, a faint smile touching her lips. "Life has a strange way of surprising us," she said thoughtfully. "Moments like this, they just happen when you least expect them." Ethan didn't respond right away, because he understood exactly what she meant. A few minutes later, his grandmother returned, bringing with her the practical reality of the situation: a first aid kit, an ice pack. Concerned questions. The moment shifted back into something more ordinary, but not completely, because even as they resumed normal conversation, even as Claire reassured everyone that she was fine, something remained, something unspoken. Ethan noticed it in the way she moved more carefully now, in the way her hand would briefly rest on his arm for support, in the small glances she gave him when she thought he wasn't looking. And he felt it too. In every quiet pause, every shared look, every subtle moment of awareness. It wasn't loud, it wasn't overwhelming, but it was there. A connection formed not through grand gestures or dramatic confessions, but through something much simpler. Care, trust, and a single unexpected moment that neither of them had seen coming. If you've ever experienced a moment like this, something small that quietly changed everything, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after they end.